I'm Matt Dillon. I'm the head of commercial vehicles at Ayvens here in the UK. I joined about 4.5 years ago, but I've been in the leasing and fleet management industry for the last 17 years. Ultimately, my responsibility is for our CV proposition and ensuring that it meets the needs of all our customers. So whether you're a sole trader, an SME, or a multinational corp, we have solutions to meet your needs, basically. It's very healthy. I think we've had a particular period of sustained growth, so that's been fantastic. We're now at ultimately about 5.1 million vans on UK roads at the moment, and that's a million more than it was in 2015. So really great growth there. But a lot of that more recently has probably come from some of the, I guess, convenience services industry, so home delivery. Certainly that's a massive rise kind of through COVID, and obviously that's carried on afterwards as well. But I guess we're going through a slight period of slowdown, it would appear, that when we look at new van registrations in 2025 year to date, they're down 10%. And also the SMMT is kind of forecasting that likely it'll be around about 1.2% decline this year. On a more positive note, we're starting to see electric vans and the registrations increase, and that's looking to forecast around about 9.6% market share by the end of the year. So good news there. But I think it's also worth noting that the BVRLA recently said that their LCV fleet had actually dropped under 500,000, which is the first time it's done that since about 2022. So maybe there's signs in there as well. But I think what we're probably seeing is a bit more of I guess a more cautious approach to vehicle replacement at the moment. I think it's mainly off the back of some economic uncertainty out there and some of the challenges associated with decarbonisation and EV transition. So I think what we're seeing is fleets maybe choosing to either extend their existing leases at the moment, or just generally just trying to seek to reduce fleet costs overall, wherever possible. But there are definitely some positive signs going forward, though. There's the SMMT are forecasting that potentially return to growth in 2026, and also it was nice to hear from the BCA recently. They published some data around a much more sort of, I guess, healthier balance in the used van supply and demand at the moment, which is certainly contributing to a more, I guess, stable marketplace versus 2024. Yeah, so there's some really great news stories out there, certainly success stories with some of the fleets that have managed to transition to electric really well. But I think it's fair to say there's still some operational obstacles out there, whether that be payload limitations or range variations depending on how those vehicles are being used and also the climate that they're in. And also suitable charging infrastructure, whether that be availability or actually being able to actually fit. So yeah, all of these can be really challenging when it comes to looking at your TCO modelling or trying to get a business case across, really. I think one of the biggest challenges we're hearing from fleets is around productivity and that impact of being of charging. So specifically where operators are needing to charge during the working day. So with vehicles or vans being a little bit lagging behind cars when it comes to charging speeds, this means that anybody who is charging during the working day, any minutes lost there is effectively lost revenue and ultimately operational downtime. So, I think it is also worth noting that, there have been improvements being made right now as we speak, certainly from new entrants that are entering the market, but also second generation electric vans coming through really have made a move on that. But I think we've still got a little way to go in that respect. But also, I guess the other challenges out there is we've seen some uncertainty and some mixed messages from government as well. I think one of the areas specifically to talk about is around some of the heavy electric vans. So those fleet operators that are using vans that are over the 3.5 ton gross vehicle weight up to about 4.25. I mean, they've had the added complexity of meeting what is effectively a mix of HGV and LCV requirements when they're operating these vehicles. So even though some of those requirements have been removed, I think there's still an element of uncertainty that still exists around these vehicles. But there has been a consultation on this area by the government over the last few months, and we're hoping to see the outcomes of that. And ideally that will provide the clarity for fleet operators and decision makers to be braver in that transition in those sort of vehicles, but also open up a wide opportunities to see whether or not those operations that need a little bit more payload or maybe a little bit more range to make them work. So it could be a real game changer when we hear about it. I think the other side around some of the mixed messages is around, it's great to hear that the plug-in van grant's been extended for another 12 months. That's fantastic news. But at the same time, we've heard the raising of vehicle excise duty at the same time, so going from naught to £345, and also some shifting information coming out obviously around the 2030 deadline and the ZEV requirements that sit around there. So certainly some mixed messages in there, and that can undermine confidence in the industry as well. So I think this was highlighted in some recent research we've done, part of the Sustainable Mobility Week, where we saw 87% of our respondents basically saying that they felt that they'd slowed some of their decarbonisation planning down due to some of these shifting policies. And that, that's clearly being seen to some extent in some of the registrations and the slower uptake for electric vans. I mean, so far this year it's about 7.6% of the market, and there is a ZEV target of 16% this year. So we've still got a bit of a way to go. So it's a really challenging time out there for fleets at the moment, and there's a lot going on in the market. And I think with businesses facing rising interest rates, operating costs, and now we see employer NIC being increased as of April. All of this is causing some challenges, and ultimately there's also some economic and political instability out there as well, including, I guess, some bit of shifting regulations and also some last-minute tax reforms as well. I think a great example of that is probably the double cab pickup announcement. That was really only given with 5 months' notice before it came into effect. So there's very little time for fleets to sort of plan and mitigate there. And I think that's to some extent where leasing comes in. Leasing's there to ultimately provide some of that, I guess, much needed stability for fleets. Providing fixed costs throughout the whole duration of the contract. And that can include maintenance as well, so helping you budget with that. And I guess it's providing an element of protection for some of these fluctuating market conditions. But it's more important to offer more than that. So, I mean, we provide flexible rental options as well to help fleets kind of navigate some of that changing marketplace at the moment. And our teams recognise that vans are used differently to cars as well. So they need to be treated differently. So good example is when we look at the end of the contract and looking at fair wear and tear, we take a very pragmatic view to it, and we apply basically like a depreciation matrix, which to the approach to actually charges at the end. So we're being realistic about how the vehicle's being used and realistically what damage is appropriate or not. So this really helps with, I guess, unexpected costs for fleets, and at a time when there's a lot of unpredictability out there, it's great to have some stability.